Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your friend and your brother, Robert W. JoJo Hill, the servant, the artist, and the author. And I am coming back with this wonderful response video. Um, I really want to talk about this thing. I made a video a couple nights ago, and it was talking about why most men do not want a strong woman. And I, it's fascinated me the responses that I've actually seen in conjunction with this video. And you can always tell a lot about a community when you just give them opportunity to speak. And this has been absolutely amazing to me, just the responses that I've seen as it relates to that. So I think today I want to title this one, I want to title this video, Why Being a Strong Woman Has Failed to Work. Why being this quote unquote strong woman has failed to work. I've had so many responses and comments and emails and just an unimaginable amount of just replies and things like that from all of these wonderful women that were primarily black women and women of color. I got very few, if any, non-black or any other culture to respond with any of the things that I've heard. What I've discovered is no other culture that I've seen in my experience and to my estimation, I've seen no other culture that stresses so specifically the need to call their women strong. No other culture does this. Our culture, our society, and our community seems to be, in my estimation, the only culture that makes their primary attribute of their women to be strong. I was speaking to a guy, and it was a white guy, and I said, "Why don't you tell me about how would you describe most of the women in your community?" And he named off all these different things. He thought, "Well, they're really sweet, really pretty. They can be a little wild sometime, and but overall they're pretty focused. Really goal oriented." Named off all this stuff. Never did he say strong. And I did this kind of social experiment. I talked to several people just to kind of get a feel for it. No other culture, and I work with people that are from other cultures, other nationalities, and things like that. Just in my business, and I've not seen it. Our community, ladies and gentlemen, is the only one that has to view its women as strong. The primary attribute of most of the women in the community is that they're strong. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a serious problem. And when I talked about this in the other video, and I talked about why most men do not want a strong woman, all the responses were so aggressive and so testosterone filled. It was amazing, but it didn't come from any of the men. All of the comments that I received from men, all those comments, they were primarily things like, "Wow, yeah, that's good. Teach that, say that. Wow, man, I'm glad you said that. Let me share this. That's good." All of the men had that response. But most of the women, it was absolutely fantastic. And of course, this is not a blanket statement. This is not a blanket statement. Everybody did not say this, but a great majority of the comments, well, he must be a weak man. Think about the context of this. Now, the idea of being strong is really about positioning. It's really about properly aligned positioning. That's really what it's about. It's about the man covering and caring for the woman. That's really the primary attribute of this whole strong and strength dynamic. This is not a characteristic that was ever supposed to be contributed to the overall attribute of a woman. Not in our community. This is upside down. In my estimations, this is completely out of position. It's out of line, and this is why you have so many incredible problems. See, our community has somehow convinced us and allowed society to convince our community that in order for you to have positive attributes of intelligence and positive attributes of being focused, you have to define it as strong, because the society understands that wording is very, very, very powerful. So what happens ultimately, you get these quote unquote strong women who think that the definition of strong is, oh, I can think on my own. This is not what we're talking about. Oh, I make my own money, so that means I'm a strong woman. It has nothing to do with that. That is 100% out of the context and the realm of what my estimations have gathered. This is not what we're talking about. When we talk about strong, we're talking about a position, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about the role that the man should have in the life of a woman. This is not to say that the woman, oh, she can't think for herself. She got to depend on a man. That that is a society has jacked us up. Ladies and gentlemen, this is off. This is twisted. It is warped. It is completely out of the context in the realm and space of anything that I've been speaking about or that I would even share, even in my writings and things of that nature. I was doing an event, and it was probably 50 or 60,000 people at this event. And I was doing this, I had a particular role that I was supposed to be doing. And this quote unquote strong woman comes over to me and she says, hey, what happened to such and such and such as blah, 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 and whatever she was asking about. And I said, just like this, I said, wait a minute, hold on, wait a minute. Who in the world are you talking to? First of all, I have no idea what you mean. I don't know what you're talking about. I have no concept. And if you're going to speak to me, you need to speak to me like I have a clue of what you're talking about. But here's what's not going to happen. You're not just going to rush on me and talk to me in this manner, because at this point, you're basically having a man-to-man confrontation. You understand? This is because you're positioning and your role, you're coming in, even though you're dressed like a woman, you're positioning like the posture that a man would aggressively have towards another man. So consequently, of course, it's going to be two men having a men-to-men battle. That's what that's all about. So, of course, this thing shut down, and she goes and she speaks with another guy, and she says, well, I need you to talk to him because he talked to me too strong. He was too strong the way he talked to me. And I told the guy, I said, no, I just responded like a man. See, our community wants the men to be emasculated. No. This society has tried to force us into thinking that if you are a man that postures like a man, the only way a woman can deal with a man that is a natural posture of a man, she has to also be strong. So consequently, what you're going to get in the home, this is how it's going to end up breaking down. The man is going to walk into his house and he's being constantly confronted with the dynamic attribute and characteristic of another man. So what a man that has any logical sense will do, he's going to say, hey man, I'm not going to stay in here and go back and forth and be in a constant war with somebody, and this doesn't match the thinking of a man. So a man will just say, if he's smart, if he has any sense, he'll say, oh no, I'm not going to do that, and he'll step away. But what does our society do? Our society makes the man appear to be vilified, and then makes the woman a hero, that she now becomes this strong-rolled position, but she was never designed for that. What people did not understand about the context of what I've been sharing is that this had nothing to do with if you were in a position of adequate thinking, adequate intelligence, sufficiency. Our society has made us think that this deems you to be a strong woman. This is not the definition. You can have all of these attributes in the positive column, and it does not make you a strong woman, because strength, from the perspective that I'm sharing, ladies and gentlemen, is a position that is preserved for the man that's supposed to cover the woman. It's supposed to cover the woman, protect the woman, and do all the things that she's not naturally designed to do. Wow. And this is so incredible, because I just listened to the wording as I was going through the comments, and it was so many. And it was all these things. It was such an attack. Well, I'm a strong black. I'm a strong. And they kept thinking, but nobody said, I'm a nurturer. Nobody says, I have my own thoughts. This is not to suggest weakness. That is a terrible mistake. To speak about a position of strength does not automatically dictate and deem that you are weak. This is not to make anything inferior. You have no you guys, It was so many comments. I could not believe it. The things that they were saying. Well, he must be a weak man because only a weak man needs a weak woman. I've never viewed a woman that has extreme intelligence and being polished and being on top of their game as being weak. What in the world? What kind of illogical thinking is going on in our community that has caused us to think this way? And I start to think about this, and I start talking about if these women are so strong. We always talk about this strong woman, the strong woman. She's strong. She's so strong. I said, okay, cool. Let's look at that. Let's just examine that. You have all of these strong women that are statistically, particularly in our community, all these strong women raising by themselves children. So you got boys in the house, you got girls in the house. So let's just identify the characteristic of the man or the boys that are growing up to be these men in these homes. Now, you have all of these wonderful, strong women, and if the philosophy of being a strong woman is so accurate, and if it's so positive, and if it works so well, you should statistically, if you're raising these boys, and these boys are becoming men, there should be a plethora of strong, polished, extremely efficient, strong, positive thinking men. Why? Because they're being raised by all of these quote unquote strong women. So, statistically speaking, if the theory is working, if there's no men in the house because all the dudes is scared of a strong woman, or they're intimidated by the strength of a strong woman, no. There are cases, and I'm sure there are cases, that there are guys that are intimidated by the intelligence of a woman. I'm sure that that happens. We see that all the time. But it does not mean that you got to be a strong woman. This is a position, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about a position that is divinely structured in order. This is what we're talking about. So if this strong woman dynamic is so effective, you should be constantly producing strong, efficient, perfect dudes in these communities. But in our communities, that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing kids being jacked up by the police, being shot, all those things that we've seen all those things on the news. I don't have to recap all that. But this theory of strong woman, this stuff, it has to be a flaw in the programming, because if the dudes are being raised by these wonderfully powerful, strong black women with all this stuff together, they strong. If the dudes keep becoming not crap dudes and you keep attracting ain't crap dudes, what I've learned is we attract, in fact, what we are, ladies and gentlemen. We don't always attract what we desire. We attract what we are. So if you keep attracting ain't crap dudes, and then you keep producing these kids, and the kids are growing up to be ain't crap, then that tells me there has to be a problem with the programming. I'm submitting to you, ladies and gentlemen, that we need to examine very closely this programming of this strong position that society has forced our women to feel that they need to be in order for them to be successful, in order for them to be polished, in order for them to be efficient, in order for them to be extremely highly intelligent, in order for them to be just the cat's meow. I feel like if God made anything better than a woman, he kept it for himself. I think you guys are absolutely fantastic, but I do believe that our society has forced us to think that you're supposed to be in a position that you are not supposed to be in. If you are constantly producing relationships that ain't crap, and you're then producing children that is growing up that statistically, ladies and gentlemen, are growing up to be the biggest problem of in across the spectrum of our communities, then I'm submitting to you that there must be a problem with the programming. All right, that's my time. This is your friend and brother, Robert W. JoJo Hill, the servant, the artist, the author. The servant has spoken.